Welcome back, America. Hugh Hewitt, joined now by Congressman Mike Gallagher, Green Bay Packers fan. And this week I have a football question for him, a football analogy. Are you ready, Congressman Gallagher?
I'm ready.
All right. So the Browns are ahead of the Steelers by 9 points on the shores of Lake Erie with 2 minutes to go. And somehow ancient Big Ben leads the Steelers on a drive and a two-point conversion. But the time is running down. They've got 30 seconds left, and now they're only down 1 point. The Steelers try an onside kick. The Browns get it. So they cannot get the ball back. So Ben calls a timeout, and Mike Tomlin and Ben go over to see Kevin Stefanski, and they ask him to punt. And he says, why? And they say, well, we'd like it to be a better game. We'd like a chance to score again. Now, here's your football question. You are a Green Bay Packers fan, so I don't know if you're going to get it right. Would the Browns agree to punt at that point?
No.
Right. So why would the Republicans agree to pass the debt hike ceiling? Because the Democrats cannot organize themselves to get their spending and tax plans together. Why would you ever do that?
The only reason they would do it is if they were as inept as the Cleveland Browns, which I hope, in this case, they are not.
Well, you meant the Steelers. You meant the Steelers.
Yeah, well, both. I mean, it's the whole division. It's just, the whole thing is absurd. Think about this. We've been in session for 3 days of the last 7 weeks. And so now Speaker Pelosi is coming to us saying we need to pass a last-second continuing resolution and then add on to that a debt ceiling increase. It's not even a debt ceiling increase, really. It's just it absolves the debt ceiling until December of next year. The whole thing is insane, and no Republican should participate in the Democrats' nonsense right now. They have the votes, theoretically, to pass this on their own. They're just trying to use us to get some political cover because they're going to try and ram through Bernie Sanders' socialist spending spree. This is Lucy and Charlie Brown with the football to extend and sort of make your analogy even more cartoonish. Don't fall for it, Republicans. Do not fall for this ruse.
Well, they are treating you like lab mice. They think the Republicans are like lab mice. And having rolled you and abused you on the budget bill, and they did. There was not one Republican vote for the Senate budget bill. There was not one Republican vote for the House budget bill. They now think you're going to help raise the debt limit so that they can roll you again. It is incredible. And here's the worst part. The media are reporting it as though you're the bad guys.
I mean, the legacy media is thoroughly corrupt. But if you think about it, you dig into it, really what they think is they can fool the American people. They think the American people are stupid enough to believe this stuff, and they can at the same time they are the ones passing through trying to pass a historic level of spending. Right? We have the $2 trillion coronavirus bill, we have the $1 trillion infrastructure bill, and then we have the $3.5 trillion blowout, where everybody gets a Tesla and it funds every Green New Deal priority under the sun. They're doing that. They are not operating in a bipartisan way. The president is bragging about passing the most progressive legislation since the New Deal, and now they're trying to blame us for the budget situation we're in. It's insane. The media being compliant with it is also insane, though unexpected. And again, just no Republican should fall for this.
So my question is, will they, because I think the Republicans are going to refuse to punt. I think they're going to be like the Browns, and the Stefanski says, no, we're going to win the game. We're not going to punt. We're going to take a knee and we're going to run the clock out. I think the Republicans are going to run the clock out, and I'm glad they are. Will then the Democrats be able to figure out what to pass? Will they have to go to the Manchin version, the least common denominator of the Democrats, on taxes and spending, and pass that with a debt hike?
Well, it's clear that the Senate is going to reject the continuing resolution that we passed with no Republican participation, thankfully, last night. There just aren't the votes in the Senate for it, and I think even some Democrat leaders have said it's dead on arrival. So I do think that will force them to come up with an alternative approach, but that will really continue to put Pelosi in a difficult position, because she has a moderate faction that in the past she's crushed and forced to comply with her more progressive impulses, pitted against the squad wing of the party, which I think is driving their agenda right now. And right now, it's hard for me to see how she sequences this in a way that keeps all of her members on board. So I really don't know what Pelosi is going to do in the next couple weeks. And again, I just hope that no Republican participates in all of this. And then, Hugh, I don't know if you saw yesterday, but we were set to vote on the rule for the continuing resolution in the afternoon. And all of a sudden, the House floor went radio silent, and we learned that they had pulled the bill because when the progressives saw the text of the continuing resolution, they saw $1 billion for Iron Dome funding for Israel, which is a joint venture, by the way, between the United States and Israel. It's a defensive piece of machinery that benefits us as well as our closest ally in the Middle East. But the progressives hate Israel, and so the Hamas caucus tanked it. They took the bill back. They had to take the $1 billion for Iron Dome out of the bill, and then we voted on it later that night. It's just crazy what's happening in the House of Representatives right now.
I'm amazed that enough Democrats went along to take. I guess they can only lose 4. So if the squad refuses to vote for something, they get it out.
Yeah, that's the squad is holding everybody hostage. Right
the
now.
Important thing for Republicans to understand: this is a messaging battle. All they have to do is message that they broke it, they bought it. It's their bill. They jammed the budget down. They can pass a debt limit. They can pass a tax and spend measure. All they have to do is agree among themselves. They don't need one Republican. Thanos has arrived and he wants a battle with the Avengers, and the Avengers aren't showing up. You're the Republicans. You're not going to play. You're not. Will they stick to messaging? It's up to the message is very simple. Democrats broke it. They bought it. They have to fix it. Can the Republicans stay on message?
I hope so. It's going to require a lot of discipline, but we have to do that. I mean, we have offered numerous bipartisan outreaches to the Speaker and her team. We should have done this whole process through regular order, gone committee by committee, passed 12 separate appropriations bills. But the fact is, as I said before, the squad is driving the train, and everything is being sacrificed to the altar of the Bernie Sanders socialist spending spree. I mean, I think Pelosi, this is her last hurrah, and she wants to go out with a bang, and she wants to cement her legacy, and so she's going to try and jam through as much as possible. And I think there's a lot of Democrats right now who are, quite frankly, afraid of all of the energy coming from the far left. And let's hope that some Democrats in the Senate, particularly Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema, stand their ground. But Republicans need to be disciplined. This is no time for us to be complicit in their games. We need to stand up for the American people, and particularly in light of all the other crises and manifest failures we're seeing from the Biden administration, whether it's the complete absence of security on the southern border. We have an out-of-control crisis on the southern border, whether it's the ongoing failures of U.S. foreign policy owing to our surrender in Afghanistan, and all of the lies, quite frankly, that the president told at the UN General Assembly yesterday. We need to be disciplined right now because the Democrats from the White House and certainly Democrats in Congress are simply not operating in a way that has the best interests of the American people in mind.
So I want to emphasize something. Nancy Pelosi will shut down the government next week. The government will run out of money. She will blame the Republicans. Chuck Schumer will blame the Republicans. In fact, the Republicans need to say the Democrats have the vote to pass a budget, fund the government, raise the debt limit. They just have to agree on what to do. We are not responsible for the government being shut. And the media is going to say the Republicans have shuttered the government. It's not 4 years ago. It's not 6 years ago. It's actually got nothing to do with the Republicans. You're just not playing this game. Will the Republicans endure the heat from the media that you shuttered the government, even when you didn't shutter the government, and simply respond, not our fault, we're not involved in this?
We have to. We can't be intimidated by the media. This is just a cut and dry case. I understand there were some past government shutdowns that were more complex than this, but to me, this is an easy one. We have to stay strong, stand our ground. We can't be bullied by the legacy media. We certainly can't be bullied by the far left. This is a time to stand our ground, and I think have faith in the common sense of the American people. Again, as I said at the outset, I do think the Democrats are playing a cynical game that depends on their ability to fool the American people, and I have faith in the common sense of the American people, and I think they can see through. I think they can see through the entire game.
They're going to shut the Washington Monument. They're going to shut Mount Rushmore. They're going to close post offices. They're going to threaten people's Social Security that doesn't stop going. They're going to say we're going to default, and they're going to blame the Republicans. And the Republicans just have to say the same thing. The Democrats have the vote to fix this. It's all on they got the majority. Yeah. They wanted it. That's all you have to say. It's there. But your members can't say anything else. I mean, they just have to. It's not us. It's them. They have the majority. Can they actually stay on message?
Well, I don't. You know, when it comes to the discipline of 200 some odd members of Congress, I can't promise every single one is going to act perfectly. I'll do my part, Hugh. However, so.
The Browns the Browns would not punt. The Browns could stay on message. The Packers would fold, but the Browns wouldn't fold.
The now victorious Green Bay Packers, as my shirt says, you got to shovel your own snow. You got to stay disciplined, Hugh. You got to handle your own affairs. Now is the time for Republicans to step up and show that we are the adults in the room on domestic policy, on foreign policy. We cannot afford 2 more years of Democrat control of the country. At a minimum, we need to take back the House, pull the emergency brake, and prevent some of this nonsense from going on, because
it will be your responsibility in a year. It's not your responsibility right now. Congressman Mike Gallagher, good to see you. By the way, our mutual friend, Captain Vandroff, tells me there is no snow in Wisconsin. It's like the Minnesota people. It's all a myth. You just don't want people to come up there and use your lakes.
In September, there is no snow.
There's no snow. You people have been lying for years. It's just simply, it's just a myth. You know, he told me. He's from Maryland. He's a Florida guy. He says it's as warm there as it is in Florida. Congressman, be well. Thank you.
Check back in February.
Yeah, I will check with him. Let me tell you, folks.